Who do you really like at forward?
Yeah, I mean, Vassell's somebody I had in my value section, which we'll get to in a little bit. I mean, he's at $4,200, so a player who's pretty easy to slide into just about any lineup build tonight. I mean, I think even Doug McDermott has some upside as another cheap forward. But if you're going to pay up, I mean, I really don't have a problem, shelling out $11,100 for LeBron James at this point. I mean, not much to say as far as how consistent he's been. I mean, the Nets are 29th in the league in defense over their last 10 games. Obviously, no Kevin Durant, no Kyrie Irving tonight. Should just kind of be the James Harden show. I don't know how that game's going to play out. These are two teams that I think have kind of stopped caring on the defensive end. Pascal Ciaco, I think, is in a good spot, I should say, against Charlotte tonight. He's usually a good bet to be in the high 40s, low 50s just about every night. And a big reason for that is he's still playing, 37 to 42 minutes. It seems like, 9 out of 10 games as Nick Nurse uses that short rotation. And then the last guy I'll throw out at forward, Tobias Harris, 7,400 against New Orleans. I think we're maybe reaching Tobias Harris is now slightly underrated territory. We're starting to talk about him as like one of the worst contracts in the league. They're trying to lump him into a Ben Simmons trade. He's still not that bad. I mean, he's a borderline all-star player. He's essentially the guy that he's been for the last 8 years. Recently 39, 43, 42 DraftKings points in his last 3 games. The complaint with Tobias Harris is he does not have a super high ceiling, either in fantasy or in real life, but still a guy who has a really nice floor at $7,400.
See, and that's the guy. Tobias Harris, Garion, is the one that I was sitting here just waiting for one of you to mention. I guess I should just shout out Cork Miles instead because he's in a good spot too, sticking with the Sixers teammate. Who do you like at forward?
Yeah, I think a lot of the same guys that Nick was talking about. I don't want to play the hits too much here. We already talked about DeJounte Murray, but yeah, Pascal Siakam at $8,900. Someone who's playing over 40 minutes per game across his last 8 games. And we already know that a matchup with the Charlotte Hornets tends to be like fantasy Nas. Like they have the highest pace of play in the Eastern Conference. They're not particularly good defensively. So you take that level of volume, combine it with the level of volume of being one of Nick Nurse's starting players. Seems like a pretty explosive combination. I'll also mention Anthony Edwards, I think, is in a really interesting spot tonight. Just in general, that Portland-Minnesota game should be relatively high scoring, should be relatively high paced. And Edwards is someone who, yes, hasn't been playing his best basketball the past week, but he's also seen his salary go from $8,600 last Tuesday to $7,600 tonight. That's a pretty precipitous drop in a short period of time for someone who literally 2.5 weeks ago had scored at least 40 DraftKings points in 5 of his last 6 games. So I just think the ceiling is really high for Edwards, and this is kind of a get-right spot for him with his salary dipping pretty low.